In the Heat of the Night, 1988 to 1995, was a groundbreaking series that blended crime, drama, and deep social themes, brought to life by a cast of unforgettable characters. But while the show remains a classic, time has taken its toll, and some of the stars who helped shape its legacy have tragically passed away, some under heartbreaking and unexpected circumstances. In this video, we take a closer look at the lives of these remarkable performers, their careers both on and off the screen, and the stories behind their final days. Join us as we remember and honor the actors we've lost from one of television's most iconic dramas. Carroll O'Connor, born August 2, 1924, portrayed Chief William O. Bill Gillespie in The Heat of the Night starting in 1988 at the age of 64. Gillespie was a complex figure, a police chief whose tough exterior hid a deeply principled man grappling with the biases of his community. In real life, O'Connor's legacy was overshadowed by personal tragedies. His son, Hugh OConor, struggled with addiction, and after years of battling substance abuse, Hugh took his own life in 1995. This devastating loss sent O'Connor into a public crusade against drug abuse, but the emotional toll was evident. He was known for his perfectionism on set, sometimes clashing with colleagues, though his acting skills earned him immense respect. However, O'Connor's own struggles with anger and controlling behavior were also notorious. His workaholic nature and bouts of rage led to tensions behind the scenes. He died on June 21, 2001, of a heart attack at 76, leaving behind a legacy of both great performances and unresolved familial heartache. Howard E. Rollins Jr., born October 17, 1950, was cast as Chief of Detectives Virgil Tibbs in The Heat of the Night in 1988 at the age of 38. Virgil Tibbs was an intelligent, sharp-witted detective whose progressive stance often put him at odds with others, mirroring Rollins' own battles off-screen. His career was filled with promising moments, yet it was marred by personal demons. Struggling with substance abuse, Rollins' talent was often overshadowed by his legal troubles and erratic behavior, including arrests for DUIs and multiple rehab stints. His addiction also affected his relationships, including a failed marriage that was under intense public scrutiny. In the mid-1990s, his career began to falter as health issues related to AIDS-related lymphoma started to take their toll. Despite his struggles, Rollins' performances remained powerful, with Virgil Tibbs becoming one of his defining roles. He died on December 8, 1996, at age 46, leaving behind a legacy of raw talent overshadowed by his personal battles and untimely death. Hugh OConor, born April 7, 1962, played Lieutenant Lonnie Jameson in The Heat of the Night starting in 1988, when he was 26 years old. Lonnie was a steadfast, morally grounded officer, often the voice of reason among the chaos of the police department. In stark contrast, Hugh's real life was a downward spiral of addiction and heartbreak. His personal demons, stemming from drug abuse, plagued his career and relationships, making it nearly impossible for him to escape his own dark world. At the height of his career, his battle with substance abuse led to a string of failed attempts to stay sober, with many describing him as a tortured soul. His tragic suicide in 1995, fueled by a cocktail of addiction and despair, cast a long shadow over his short-lived acting career. His death sent shockwaves through the industry, leaving many wondering how much potential had been lost. The loss of his father, Carroll O'Connor's son, further haunted him, deepening the cycle of pain that defined his life. He passed away on March 28, 1995 at 32. Carl Weathers, born January 14, 1948, appeared as Chief Hampton Forbes in The Heat of the Night starting in 1993 at the age of 45. As Forbes, Weathers was a commanding presence, bringing a much-needed strength and charisma to the police department. However, Weathers' real life wasn't as polished. Multiple divorces and publicized turbulent relationships painted a picture of a man who struggled to balance his demanding career and personal life. Known for his roles in Rocky and Predator, Weathers had a successful career but wasn't immune to the pressures of fame. Behind the scenes, he was often described as difficult to work with, known for being extremely guarded and suspicious of those around him. His multiple marriages and constant disputes with colleagues about his career choices pointed to a man who was constantly fighting his own insecurities. His health issues later in life, specifically heart disease, were exacerbated by his stressful career and personal struggles. He died on February 2, 2024, at the age of 76 from atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. Bob Penny, born June 29, 1935, played Alvin P. Eppin in The Heat of the Night in 1990, at the age of 55. Epp was a quirky, charming character who lightened the mood of an otherwise intense show. Penny's career, however, wasn't without its own shadows. Behind his affable public image, there were whispers of personal struggles, and he was known to have battled alcohol addiction for years. Although he kept a relatively low profile, those close to him spoke of erratic behavior and an inability to maintain relationships, both personal and professional. Bob was particularly difficult on set, often missing rehearsals and turning up to work in less than ideal conditions. He ultimately distanced himself from Hollywood, seeking solace in teaching drama, a move that allowed him to avoid the glaring spotlight of a troubled life. Penny's quiet passing on December 25, 2022 at the age of 87 marked the end of a long, often lonely journey for the man whose personal demons, though hidden from public view, were never far behind his career. Lois Nettleton, born August 16, 1927, portrayed Joanne St. John in The Heat of the Night starting in 1988, when she was 61 years old. As Joanne, Nettleton brought warmth and depth to the show, often offering support and compassion to the characters around her. Yet, Nettleton's personal life told a different story. Married to writer Jean Shepherd, Nettleton's marriage ended in a highly publicized divorce that marked the beginning of her personal struggles. She was known for her tumultuous relationships and often played the role of the tortured soul, both on screen and off. Her later years were overshadowed by her battle with lung cancer, which she kept largely private, but the disease and her declining health were only the culmination of years of personal grief. Nettleton's ability to portray complex, emotionally intense characters mirrored her own life, where emotional scars ran deep. She passed away on January 18, 2008, at the age of 80, leaving behind a career marked by great performances, but a personal life scarred by lost love and silent suffering. Dennis Lipkcom, born March 1, 1942, played Mayor Jim Finley in The Heat of the Night starting in 1988, when he was 46. His character, a pragmatic politician, often faced moral dilemmas that reflected the complexities of his real-life personality. Despite a career brimming with promise, Lipkcom's life took a dark turn after the show. His marriage, which seemed solid on the outside, was riddled with secrets. Rumors circulated that Lipkcom was involved in an extramarital affair with a co-star, though the details remained unclear. His personal life was filled with late-night benders and a growing reputation for being notoriously difficult to work with. At times, his drinking spiraled out of control, leading to frequent absences from both sets and public events. Lipkcom's career, despite its early success, was marked by steady decline, and the actor's once promising future was overshadowed by scandals. His death on July 30, 2014 at 72 from natural causes left many reflecting on what could have been, had his personal struggles not gotten the better of him. Margaret Blye, born October 24, 1939, portrayed Gillespie's girlfriend in The Heat of the Night in 1988, at the age of 49. Known for her warm and supportive character, Blye was a source of solace for Gillespie, helping him navigate the emotional trials of his life. However, Blye's real-life personal struggles were far from supportive. She was notoriously difficult in her personal relationships, with a history of volatile romantic entanglements that led to a publicized divorce in the early 70s. A strong, independent woman, Blye faced criticism for her inability to settle into long-term relationships, and her career saw fits of inactivity, with many casting directors labeling her unpredictable. Behind the scenes, Blye struggled with depression and an alleged prescription drug addiction that threatened to derail her career. Though she mostly avoided the tabloids, the truth about her personal demons came to light after her passing from cancer on March 24, 2016 at 76. Blye left behind a legacy of complex roles, but her personal life remained an enigma, one that few dared to explore in depth. Mel Stuart, born September 19, 1929, played Calvin Peterson in the Heat of the Night in 1990, when he was 61. Peterson was a seasoned officer whose wisdom provided guidance in a turbulent town. But Stuart's life off-screen was far more tumultuous. A deeply private man, Stuart struggled with the pressure of his career, which never quite reached the heights many had predicted. His family life was strained, with a long history of bitter disputes with his children, who would later describe their father as emotionally distant and often cruel in his parenting. Stuart's alcoholism, though kept mostly under wraps during his career, became more problematic in his later years. He was known to lash out at family members and colleagues during his drinking binges, making it difficult for anyone to approach him for help. His death on February 24, 2002 at 72, after a long battle with Alzheimer's disease, was marked by regret, as those closest to him often spoke of lost opportunities in a man who could have been much more, had his personal demons not dominated his life. Ted Manson, born October 23, 1926, played Elmer in the Heat of the Night starting in 1989, at the age of 63. Elmer was a lovable eccentric, but in reality, Manson's life was anything but charming. Known for his work ethic, Manson spent his days dedicated to his craft, but his personal life was a stark contrast. Manson was rumored to be deeply involved in a string of failed marriages, with each relationship ending under bizarre and often explosive circumstances. Friends and colleagues recalled his behavior as erratic, his moods shifting from jovial to deeply withdrawn in a matter of minutes. He became increasingly isolated as his career waned, with rumors swirling that he was prone to erratic fits of anger on set, frequently clashing with other cast members. Though never openly publicized, Manson's heavy reliance on alcohol and his inability to maintain steady work led to a quiet fall from the public eye. His death on June 1, 2008 at 81 went largely unnoticed by the mainstream media, his passing marked only by a few heartfelt tributes from former colleagues who could only hint at the darker side of his legacy. Fran Bennett, born on August 14, 1937, portrayed Aunt Rhoda Gibson in the Heat of the Night in 1990 at 53 years old. Aunt Rhoda was the epitome of wisdom and nurturing, a role that mirrored Bennett's real-life charm, yet behind the scenes, her life was fraught with personal struggles. Though Bennett's career remained largely scandal-free, her private life was turbulent. Her relationships were often unstable, with a string of short-lived marriages that seemed to reflect her ongoing internal battles. She struggled with bouts of depression that only deepened in her later years, leading her to retreat from the public eye. In addition, she faced difficulties with addiction and was known for becoming reclusive, distancing herself from many of her peers. While Bennett's death on September 12, 2021 at 84 was largely peaceful, her life had been marked by an internal fight that mirrored the wisdom and pain of Aunt Rhoda. The actress's struggle with depression and loneliness painted a stark contrast to the comforting character she portrayed on screen. Chuck Hicks, born on December 26, 1927, played Red Jack in the Heat of the Night in 1988 at 61 years old. Red Jack was a fierce and intimidating character, traits that mirrored Hicks' real-life persona. Known primarily as a stuntman, Hicks carved out a name for himself in Hollywood through his intense physicality and rugged demeanor. However, his off-screen life was far from smooth. Hicks had a long-standing battle with alcohol abuse, which severely impacted his career and personal relationships. His reputation for being difficult to work with made him a controversial figure in Hollywood circles, and he found himself blacklisted from several major film projects due to his temper and erratic behavior. Despite these setbacks, Hicks continued to work in film, often portraying tough, no-nonsense characters. He died on May 4, 2021 at 93, after complications from a stroke, leaving behind a legacy marked by both his physical prowess and personal demons. His later years were marked by reconciliation, but his earlier struggles continued to cast a shadow over his legacy. Burgess Meredith, born on November 16, 1907, played Judge Cully in the Heat of the Night in 1993 at 86 years old. Meredith was celebrated for his iconic roles in Rocky and Batman, yet his real-life journey was far from the heroic figures he often portrayed. A staunch liberal during the McCarthy era, he was blacklisted, facing years of professional struggle because of his political beliefs. His relationships, particularly his marriage to his third wife, were marked by infidelity, secrecy, and ongoing tension. Despite his success, Meredith battled alcoholism and used his career as a shield from personal heartbreak. He often found solace in his work, but his on-screen persona as a mentor and moral authority was sharply at odds with his personal demons. His passing on September 9, 1997 at 89 came after years of suffering from Alzheimer's and melanoma, two conditions that slowly wore him down. The actor left behind a career built on resilience, but also a trail of scandals, including strained family ties and a complex personal history that was never fully reconciled. Christopher Alport, born on June 17, 1947, played D.A. Dutton in the Heat of the Night in 1989 at 42 years old. Dutton was a determined and principled district attorney, a character far removed from Alport's real life, which was filled with untamed spontaneity. His career seemed promising, but personal choices and a rebellious streak ultimately led to roles that didn't match his early potential. Alport's love for adventure led him to risky activities, such as mountain climbing and skiing, which culminated in a tragic avalanche that took his life on January 25, 2008 at 60. In his personal life, Alport was known for his commitment to an active lifestyle, but his relationships were often marked by a lack of stability. His marriage ended in a bitter divorce, and his relationships with his children were strained. While he was admired for his acting, it was his unrelenting pursuit of thrills that ultimately led to his untimely death, leaving behind a career that was overshadowed by his personal quests for excitement and escape. Andy Romano, born on April 16, 1936, portrayed Officer Charles Ryan in the Heat of the Night starting in 1990, at the age of 54. Ryan was the dependable and disciplined officer, a character that contrasted sharply with the show's more colorful figures. Romano's career was marked by his ability to play authority figures, appearing in films like Under Siege and Major League. However, his rise to fame wasn't without struggles. Despite a consistent presence in film and television, Romano often found himself relegated to secondary roles, overshadowed by larger stars. His personal life was filled with heartbreak, including a long battle with alcoholism that affected his career. His intense dedication to his work often left him isolated, and he was known for being demanding and difficult to work with, alienating both cast and crew on occasion. His personal demons followed him throughout his career, leading to many of his roles drying up as his behavior became a liability. Romano passed away on September 14, 2022, at the age of 86. Pat Hingle, born on July 19, 1924, played Daddy Roy Eversole in the Heat of the Night in 1993 at 69 years old. Eversole was a stern, unyielding figure, a role that closely reflected Hingle's own stoic demeanor. However, Hingle's real life was far from simple. In the 1950s, he survived a near-fatal car accident that left him with lifelong injuries and required numerous surgeries. His struggles with alcohol and his tumultuous personal life, which included multiple marriages and a strained relationship with his children, were well known within the industry. Hingle was infamous for his difficult personality on set, with many colleagues finding him hard to work with due to his uncompromising attitude and erratic behavior. His acting career continued despite these challenges, but he was never fully able to reconcile his public persona with his personal struggles. He passed away on January 3, 2009 at 84 from myelodysplastic syndrome, leaving behind a legacy of both strength and unresolved conflict. Franklin Cover, born on November 20, 1928, played Tommy Vincent in the Heat of the Night starting in 1991 at the age of 63. His character, a kind and gentle man, was a far cry from Cover's own experiences in Hollywood. Despite his affable image on screen, Cover's career took a downturn after his breakthrough role in The Jeffersons. In his personal life, Cover was plagued by rumors of reckless spending and escalating personal debts, stemming from his extravagant lifestyle. As he grew older, his financial woes deepened, and he became entangled in a series of lawsuits involving breached contracts and accusations of being a difficult, stubborn actor on set. Known to alienate co-stars with his eccentricities, Cover was seen as a relic of a bygone era, unable to adapt to the more modern entertainment landscape. His personal battles with loneliness and health issues were overshadowed by his public persona, which suffered as his career floundered. Franklin Cover passed away on February 5, 2006, at 77, leaving a final impression of both comedic talent and tragic financial ruin. Bobby Short, born on September 15, 1924, portrayed Cheese Collins in the Heat of the Night from 1991, at 67 years old. Collins was a charming and talented musician, playing an integral role in the rich cultural backdrop of the series. Bobby Short's career was characterized by his dedication to the Great American Songbook and his legendary performances at New York's Café Carlyle. However, behind his smooth persona, Short's life was not without controversy. His relationships, often with younger men, stirred whispers in the circles of New York's high society. His personal life was a complex web of secrecy, with rumored affairs and a deep penchant for lavish, yet lonely, living. A known perfectionist, Short's personal and professional demeanor was at times frustrating to his peers. His late life struggles were exacerbated by health issues, and his bitterness over being excluded from mainstream recognition in the music world marred his later years. Bobby Short passed away on March 21, 2005, at the age of 80, after years of living in semi-seclusion, with his final years marked by declining health and fading public recognition. Bruce Kirby, born on April 28, 1925, portrayed Deputy Chief Harlan Cassidy in the Heat of the Night starting in 1990, at the age of 65. Cassidy was a no-nonsense, authoritative figure who brought a sense of order to the tumultuous world of the series. Off-screen, Kirby's career was long and varied, but behind the scenes, his professional life was marred by struggles with typecasting. While he had memorable roles in Columbo and Crash, Kirby often found himself in supporting roles that led to frustration, and some even say he was sidelined in favor of younger stars. His personal life reflected a similar pattern of disappointment, with a string of failed relationships and rumors of clashes with co-stars. At one point, Kirby was reported to be difficult on set, known for his sharp tongue and perfectionist tendencies, which led to tensions with directors. His later years were marked by a sense of quiet withdrawal, often avoiding the limelight. Kirby passed away on January 24, 2021, at 95, quietly slipping from public view in his final years. Rosemary Murphy, born January 13, 1925, appeared in the Heat of the Night as Joanna Allenby starting in 1993, at the age of 68. Allenby was portrayed as a refined and intelligent character, yet Murphy's personal life couldn't have been more different from the poised persona she portrayed on screen. Known for her prestigious work on stage, Murphy had long been the subject of rumors about her inability to maintain relationships. Her string of failed marriages and a notorious affair with a much younger co-star added a layer of scandal to her reputation. Murphy's career, while celebrated, was also tainted by whispers of on-set diva behavior. Colleagues mentioned her overbearing presence, which overshadowed her considerable talent. As the years passed, Murphy struggled with public perception, especially when her personal life continued to unravel. Despite her legacy, the actress was rarely able to reclaim the career highs she once enjoyed. She passed away on July 5, 2014, at the age of 89, but her life was never quite the picture-perfect success that her fans imagined. David Healey, born May 15, 1929, joined In the Heat of the Night in 1993 at the age of 64, playing the dedicated and hardworking Arb Gentry. His role was that of a loyal character, but the actor himself experienced personal challenges and struggles that were far from loyal to his reputation. Healey's career was highlighted by roles in Labyrinth and Superman 2, but a string of controversies clouded his later years. Behind the scenes, Healey was known for his volatile temper, often clashing with directors and fellow actors, leading to a steady decline in his professional opportunities. His marriage was equally turbulent, with rumors of infidelity and unresolved bitterness. Healey also faced personal tragedy when his son was involved in a public scandal, an event that seemed to tear at his foundation. Struggling with alcoholism and deep personal demons, Healey passed away on October 25, 1995 at 66, leaving behind a career filled with both acclaim and scandal. Geoffrey Lewis, born July 31, 1935, was known for playing Captain Brad Jenkins in the Heat of the Night starting in 1990 at the age of 55. His character was a grizzled, tough officer, but in reality, Lewis's personal and professional life had its own set of struggles. Despite a successful career in films like High Plains Drifter and The Devil's Rejects, Lewis was constantly battling his own inner demons. Known for a string of failed marriages, his personal life was often at odds with his public image. He had issues with addiction, which he worked to keep hidden from the public eye, but rumors of his drinking problem and difficult on-set behavior became hard to ignore. His later years were plagued by loneliness and illness, and those close to him claim he became bitter towards the industry that had once embraced him. Lewis's death on April 7, 2015, at the age of 79, was a quiet one, and many who had worked with him noted the complex, sometimes tragic, man who remained largely misunderstood. Alan Arbus, born February 15, 1918, joined In the Heat of the Night in 1992, portraying the compassionate Dr. Atwill at the age of 74. His character was a calming presence in the chaos, but Arbus's personal life told a different story. A longtime actor known for roles in MASH * and Coffee, Arbus's later years were marred by mental health struggles that he kept largely private. He had a rocky relationship with his children, who were often forced to deal with his severe mood swings and erratic behavior. Arbus was also reported to have struggled with deep depression and anxiety, which he attempted to mask with humor and charm. His personal life became a source of isolation, with his co-stars noting how distant he seemed during his final years in the industry. Despite a career marked by success, Arbus's declining mental state and personal turmoil made his later years far less glamorous. He passed away on April 19, 2013, at the age of 95, quietly slipping from the public eye. Who's your favorite character in the Heat of the Night? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.